others. There's always many, many reasons for certain events. Now we'll go to Jean. What is your question, and welcome?
Thank you. This is Jean.
Good.
I was just wondering, we just touched on a little bit with the recent passing of this entertainer Prince.
Prince, yes.
I thought one of the other interesting things about the timing, when it was, and you can give us some feedback why it was important, or the significance of it being on Queen Elizabeth's birthday, why he would pass that day, or be facilitated that he passed that day. Because I thought it was interesting, he had recently broken with the traditional structure of the music industry with his recording publishing company, taking his power and control back over his music. He seemed to also be in a long phase of taking control back over his life in general, his thoughts and thinking. He started to sound like someone who was studying information that even your channel had been teaching for decades. He may have.
And didn't he have a photo of him with the word slave written on his face?
He did. And but another interesting thing, the day he died, he seemed to understand, he had long-standing issues with debilitating chronic pain, in which he had been relying on the medical community to manage. But he realized that was another maybe form of slavery. His body had become so conditioned and dependent on the drug he was taking steps to get himself off of it and maybe go in an alternative direction, which he had done for his diet. He was a vegan. He was perhaps looking for an alternative direction for his health care, his pain management, and he passed away the day before he was putting that plan into place. Alone, somewhat mysteriously, alone in his compound where he lived.
We'll give a few comments here. Much of the entertainment industry, along with the sports industry, have been subjected to one form or another of MK Ultra mind control cult participation. It is nigh impossible, once you have been subjected for long-term brain fragmentation and programmed to be exceptional. Understand, MK Ultra does not simply create multiple personality disorder and many alters or different front personalities that can switch. And Prince was known for switching. He would go from the falsetto down to very deep singing. Switching is part of MK Ultra. It is like punching a different program on your computer. And MK Ultra, mind control to the ultra, is based on roughly understanding that the body is like a computer and stores various programs. And you can, if you are so programmed, someone can touch your little pinky and a different alter comes forward. Then someone touches your elbow and another alter comes forward. Nonetheless, it is nigh impossible to break out. Even you have a woman named Roseanne Barr. Do you remember her?
Yes.
She was responsible for what we call the slobification. We made that word up. The slobification of the lifestyle and the dress code in the U.S. So even Roseanne Barr, who claimed quite publicly, everyone's under MK Ultra mind control, I'm the only one that wants to talk about it. They're all frightened to death. Yes, because if you attempt to break out, you often can be killed. And Prince, let's say, was getting too smart for his britches. He was talented and smart enough and had enough public, let's say, backing and charisma to be an effective communicator. He was a threat, worth more dead than alive. And of course, as we've been pointing out, and Jean, you certainly were aware, that the window of sacrifice and volatility on the planet usually kicks in from April 15, through May number 1. Remember that Chernobyl, 1986, blew in that window. Many, many, many volatile events have happened between April 15 and May number 1. So Queen's birthday is one day after Hitler's birthday. Hitler's birthday is April 20th, and then the Queen, QE2, she's 90 on April 21. Then Earth Day is the next day. A few years ago in that window, you had the Deepwater Horizon blow up, etc. You've had so many things. So Prince, serendipitously, is demised in his own castle in Minnesota the same day the Queen having her birthday. What a coincidence. A prince dies on the Queen's birthday. And then the Queen, where does she go on her birthday? To Cairo, of all places. Cairo. Cairo that, in certain terms, it's understood that Cairo is Mars, name for Mars. And then, of course, it was not so long ago that at the death of Nelson Mandela, that it is reported that the Anunnaki god Marduk, Duke University down the road there, Marduk, the old Anunnaki god, son of Enki, was crowned king of Africa at Mandela's memorial service. And then the Queen goes to Cairo, which is called Mars, on and around her birthday. And then a temple of Baal, right in that window, is Baal, meaning Marduk, is dedicated in London? Folks, climate change is afoot. David, what does that mean?
Big deceptions.
Climate change is code.
Return of...
The return of the Anunnaki and Nibiru.
Yes.
And this is why 200 countries, 190 some odd countries also met during that window. And they came to the UN. And they signed various treaties, and each one agreeing that climate change, from Obama on down to the Oscar winner, make the statement to the world, there is no more important issue in these times than climate change. And then Obama hops in his super polluting airplane and flies here, there, and everywhere. Airplanes pollute way more than your automobiles do. Anyone notice the disconnect? No, because everyone's too busy on the devices, looking at pornography, or watching their little kids take JonBenet Ramsey type lessons. What was appalling in the JonBenet Ramsey case 20 years ago? She's resurfaced on the tabloids, and her pictures are coming up, so we bring this up. What was appalling? To sexualize a 5 or 6 year old girl and to teach her how to do hoochie coochie dancing, we are being very polite here, is now commonplace. What has happened to your culture, friends? In front of your eyes, what has happened to your culture, and why do you allow it? We don't know if that's something you can answer, but it's certainly something that Prince eventually was attempting to convey. And of course, he was controlled from childhood. You must understand this, as many of these people are. When they are born poor and they have talent, they are taken into these programs, especially if they are abused. Abused children are very desirable. Why? Because they dissociate. And if you dissociate, then you are already a candidate for being programmed. dissociation means you check out and cannot deal with the trauma. And if you are sexualized when you are a young child, of course you're going to check out. You don't know how to deal with it. You are supposed to be relying on parental authority and protection. All right, who else has a question?
Can I follow up real quick?
All right, go ahead.
What was the significance? I realized there must have been speaking to somebody that understood the significance of the color. That Prince was the purple one, but somehow on his death, it was like somehow the purple was being associated with Queen Elizabeth. It was very...
Purple is traditionally the color of royalty. And there was a time, Gina, this is a very good observation on your part, there was a time when it was not an easy color to produce. The reds could be produced from berries, do you understand? But purple was more elusive until a specific mollusk was discovered, not the octopus, but some other mollusk, that gave off a dark purple inky substance that was very, very rare and difficult to achieve. So in the business of fabrics and creating dyes, purple was reserved as a special color only for those of very high position, or one could say it was associated with the Anunnaki. So his whole concept of purple rain, even though he may have appealed to the masses and people thought he was fixing them and saving them, Prince was putting everyone under mind control who listened to his songs. He may be explaining what was going on, but understand, people, music puts you into a trance. And once you are into a trance, if you are not cognizant of what is going on, you may be having a good time, but you are being dumbed down. So what looked like he was liberating people, he was not. He was taking them further under control. Look at how they all mourned him. And what did he really achieve? And how many rock and rollers died this year? And everyone's acting as if these rock and rollers did something for the planet. What did they do? Does anyone want to answer that?
Don't they help by raising the vibration?
They didn't raise the vibration at all. They put you under mind-controlled trances. So to be fair, when all these people mourn the rock and rollers, you are mourning those who create music and lyrics that put you deeper into a trance so that you can't think. Wake up, people. Wake up. Who has a question?